BLACKOUT revival the final Eclipse. Probably the best zombie games on Roblox in my opinion. I found this game on YouTube. I was scrolling and scrolling until I found this guy's video. And the first thing that catches my eyes are the person class system, which is something that completely stand out from other Roblox zombie games. But we'll talk about it later. When I first played this game and just straight up and play the game. I don't even need a tutorial. Because why not? Let's enjoy the game to the fullest and let's see how it goes. Well, it didn't end very well. But anyways, in my first playthrough, I choose a Brawler class and a standard difficulty. At the first moment, I find the game easy, but the moment I open the first relay, things just gone downhill real quick. Everything is trying to kill you, especially the Pyre Blast and the Void Shackle. I took a lot of damage in Pyre Blast because at that time I didn't know how to minimize its damage. And I think my first death was because I lost an arm to the Void Shackle explosion and I just get gangbanged to death. That is the moment I realized that this game is not really that easy as it seems. Unlike other zombie games where you can just kill anything with your guns, this game, if you don't manage your perk properly, your health, the tactics, the choke points, you're good as death, especially in the hardest modes in Death Sentence, which you take 100% more damage. And did I even mention that you will also have to face 2 more enemy types. Now these things are what makes the game interesting and fun for me. The game itself is going to be very hard unless you know what you are doing. Let's start off with what we are going up against, the Nightbounds. Basically some kind of a corrupted entity or something. Currently there are 10 types of Nightbounds at the moment in the game. I'll start off with the most common one, which is the Wraith. They are the most common and pretty much just a basic zombie. They don't have any specific special abilities, except they just come in a lot of numbers. However, do not let them overwhelm you, since they can kill you pretty quickly, especially in Death Sentence. Moving on to the next guy, we have the Pyre Blast. Can be identified by his glowing green aura. They can be seen after the first relay. His skills are pretty simple yet deadly, which is exploding on death and scattering acid around the area. It is advisable to not kill him near down players and engage him from range. Moving on to the next guy, we have the Echo. Or so the wiki call them the Unholy Yapper. Can be identified by his glowing orange color and spawns together with Pyre Blast after relay 1. He has an active skill which is screaming very loudly, deafening you, dealing damage over time, and slowing you down. But it is an active skill, so he may or may not use it, it's up to your luck. After the second relay, you have found another Nightbound called Void Shackle. This purple boy is extremely deadly if you're not careful. He has a total of 2 abilities. First is the Hypnotic Entrapment, chaining any players around them, slowing them drastically, and make them take damage over time. Failing to escape his chain or eliminate him in time will cause you to take moderate to heavy damage. And another ability of his is Explosive Demise, a chance for him to self-explode, causing anyone who caught within its radius to die instantly, so beware of it. Moving on to the next guy that comes together with Void Shackle, the Vapor Maul. Can be identified by the glowing yellow color of them. All they do is shoot poisonous gas at you in a crouching stance, but they can catch up with you by running. You can counter his poison by wearing gas mask, but you are forced to take it off after the third relay, resulting you to take a lot of dot damage if you're not careful with him, so you must take him out quickly if possible. Now here comes the problem and the shit show. One of the deadliest, if not the deadliest Nightbound you will ever see in this game, the Flare. This guy spawned after your third relay. Can be identified by his white glowing aura and a high-pitched scream when spawning. It is advisable to kill this guy as quick as possible. He is pretty deadly, especially in numbers. First thing he would do is attempting a teleport to you, which will cause a white circle around you on the floor. Move out of it quickly, because if you didn't, he will grab you into the air and you can do nothing about it. Then slam you onto the ground, ragdolling you, and you're pretty much just gonna get stomped to death. If you did manage to avoid his teleportation, he will just simply run to you, and within a certain range, he will then teleport to you to attack you rapidly, causing you to take a lot of damage if you can't kill him quick enough. Not to mention that he could easily decapitate you. He deals a lot of damage to your body parts. In the worst case scenarios, he could 2-shot your head and you would die instantly. He could also do a retreat teleportation by swapping himself with a random Nightbound so that he could heal himself and came back to you later. He does have a quite bit of health points, so take prioritize in killing him first. Next up, we have a big blue boy, Shockbane. He is the slowest, but the tankiest. Shockbane also comes after third relay just like Flare. It can be identified by its blue color and huge body. When Shockbane's attack, he will release a powerful shockwave that can be heard by the sound cue, and glows a very bright blue color. Failing to escape out of his attacking range will cause you to take a fatal damage. So if you are really close to him and you hear him charging his attack, just run away as fast as you can. Next up, we have the only two Nightbound that could only be found on hard or their sentence difficulty. Let's start off with the Shade Mirror. They spawn after 4th relay and can be identified by its cyan color. When it spawns, it will let out a loud growl followed by a faint shimmering sound. It acts just like any normal Nightbound until it begins its mirroring stage. To make it basic, he will simply try to steal whatever weapon you are holding. If he succeeded, he will copy the whole player and attack the player with the stolen weapon. Once the Shade Mirror is killed after they copy you, it will be down like a normal player and begin hibernation. If a player does not perform a finisher in time, the Shade Mirror will revive itself and continue attacking. It is invincible during this state and can only be killed by finisher. Not even the Void Shackle's explosion demise is able to kill a hibernating Shade Mirror. So if you don't want to deal with all his bullshit, just don't hold a weapon when he's trying to copy you, and he is as easy to kill as any normal Nightbound. Next up, we have Dread Coil. Appear after 4th relay just like Shade Mirror. When a Dread Coil spawns, it will release a low-pitched growl similar to that of a bear's. The appearance of a Dread Coil is a dark pitch black Nightbound, emitting black smoke. The Dread Coil usually travels within a horde of Nightbound. Its back will split open and release healing trindles that will connect it to all of the other Nightbound in the area, greatly boosting their base stats and damage resistance. The Nightbound that are connected to Dread Coil will receive a 100% damage resistance, and you will deal a negative damage to any Nightbound affected by it. Primary way of attacking is using its grab's mark to pull players out of their safe areas and holding them in place for other Nightbound to tear into. Moreover, your life force will be heavily drained by the Dread Coil, causing you to meet your fate very quickly. So Dread Coil is a very deadly and highly destructive Nightbound, so you must spot them out and deal with them very quickly before they destroy everyone in the server. And here comes the last guy, the Hellfire. He is not just any Nightbound, he is a boss battle for the last relay. The Hellfire boasted a lot of health, which is at least 6,000 health points. Its health bar can be seen at the top of the player's screen. Moreover, this boss has a total of 5 attack patterns. All of them deal a lot of damage, even on a standard mode. So let's get through them one by one. Let's start off with the first attack, Eruption Stomp. It's the attack pattern where the boss raises its leg for a while before dramatically stomps to the ground, creating a shock wave around the area. This stomp launches any close players into the ragdoll state and creates a volcanic feature which spreads 3 to 4 directions in a diagonal shape. Stepping onto these puddles will moderately harm the player and set them aflame. To avoid this attack, jump before he stomps onto the ground, and the fire puddle that he made will barely do any damage to you if you compare it to the other attack patterns, so you could just walk over it, don't need to worry. Next up, Inferno Roar, the most deadly attack but the easiest to dodge, and you want him to use it most of the time. At first, Inferno Roar animation just seems like he's about to stomp, but in a much slower pace. Then he will let out a breath of fire. Anyone who caught in it will suffer a lot of damage and get set on fire. But the good thing is, this attack is very slow and you can avoid it very easily. He will also be immobile while using this move, so you can get a lot of damage into him if you are prepared. Next up, the Searing Screech. For this attack, the boss just releases a flaming projectiles, launches and homing them towards the player. These do moderate damage and explode on impact. To avoid these attacks, you must move in an unpredictable way, or forcing the projectiles to hit the ground or the obstacles. For the next attack, we have the Flame Geysers. This attack is when the boss digs his hands into the ground, sending a fire burst down and up onto the player, launches the players into the air as well as dealing moderate damage. But since you can tell where the fire will pops up and it will always be under the players, you can just pretty much easily dodge it by just keep moving around. On to the last one, not really an attack pattern, but also a skill of this boss, Overheat Traps. It is unknown when do these traps spawn, but it's typically once every 2 waves or after Inferno Roar. The appearance of this thing just looks like some molten puddle or hole that just pops up from the ground. If you step onto these traps, you will be turned into a rock. and after 2 seconds, you get launched into the air and get set on fire, dealing a lot of damage to the player who step on them. And these are all of his attack patterns. It is quite a lot if you are a new player. Luckily, the Hellfire does not move very fast and doesn't have any melee attack. If you study all of his attack patterns precisely, you can deal with him very easily. And that is pretty much all of the enemies that you will be facing in the final Eclipse. Though I haven't mentioned about the 2 subtypes of the Nightbound, which are Cloaked and Eclipse. Cloaked Nightbound are basically Nightbound that doesn't show their color. Well, to be exact, they have colors in their wings, but it just doesn't glow. And for the Eclipse, I'm not sure about this one though. I believe it's just a Nightbound that has an increased health and damage. Alright, moving on to the next topic. Now that we know what we're going up against, we also need to know what we have. You see, there are 5 classes in this game: Demolitionist, Marksman, Tactician, Brawler, and Medic. These 5 classes excel in their own way, both when playing as a team or solo. Before we start off talking about each classes, I have to say one thing. The best melee that you could possibly get for every class is Katana. It has decent damage, very quick, and good hitbox. If you reach level 5 in each class, you can pick a Katana as your starter melee, except for Brawler. But it doesn't matter since Brawler can just buy a Katana for a very cheap price anyway. Oh, and I will have to mention one more thing. These are some of the perks that you must pick no matter what classes you are playing. Trauma Pad Resupply, a quick health supply, you will always need it. Now these 2 perks isn't available or has no use for Brawler, but they are still very important for other classes. Okay, now let's get into a detail of each class. Now let's start off with the Demolitionist. This class prioritizes on using explosives and SMGs. You have a very good DPS and good crowd control. Basically, you shred anything in your path. When choosing a perk, prioritize in getting these perks from these 3 perk sets: Flaming Fury, Blazing Reserves, and most importantly, Thermal Core with a perk called Blazing Catalyst, which will make you available to the ultimate skill of this class called Overheated. You're basically a glass cannon when playing this class. You shred everything very quickly, but you also die very easily too. You need to be a little bit more careful with your ammo supplies, especially during early games. Unless you already have all the Blazing Reserves perks, then combine it with Flaming Fury, you pretty much never run out of ammo, which pretty much make you good against anything during late games, especially against Slayer, Shockbane, or big bosses like Hellfire. Since you have a very high sustained DPS, you can just melt them in an instant. Let's move on to the next class, Marksman. In my opinion, Marksman might be the hardest class to play. It requires good aim and proper positioning. Since most of the Marksman perks requires you to headshot the enemy to deal a lot of damage. The 2 main weapons that Marksman use is Heavy Pistol, which is a revolver, and a sniper rifle. If you're planning to place revolvers only, choose Spinning Chambers and Endless Chamber, since that is where you get your ammo resupply and crowd control skill. If you're playing with sniper rifles, consider picking perks from Shooter perk sets, since you could kill multiple enemies with only 1 shot. However, it only activates with sniper rifles and not revolver. I'm not sure if this is a bug or is by design. Marksman ultimate skill is called Focus, and you will be available to it by picking Dead Eye Instinct perks. Really useful during endgames, especially against the boss. You have higher DPS and it's really easy to activate it too. Marksman is like a high risk high reward class. If you are really good at doing headshots, you will be rewarded pretty good. It might seem underwhelming during early games, but during end games, Marksman is the best damage dealer to the boss. Alright, moving on to the next class, Brawler, which is probably my favorite class right now. Brawler class prioritizes in using melee weapons, and it is pretty beginner friendly. I'm not really sure why some people think that Brawler is the hardest class to play, since he is pretty good at doing every single thing. You're tanky, you deal a lot of damage, you can do crowd control. The only thing you don't have is the range, but it doesn't really matter, you just face plant into your enemy. Now, to be able to do that, you really need to pick all these perk sets. First off is the Vampirism perk sets. This perk set is very good since you leash off every enemy attacks you parry. This perk is very OP since you can infinitely health farm from the normal Nightbound if you are very good at parrying. And if you are using a katana, and I recommended you to use a katana for the whole game, pick Ronin perk sets. These perks amplify the effectiveness of the katana by a lot, especially the perk called Art of Blade. Art of Blade helps you deal with Shockbane and Flare in Act 4. Combined with Brawler ultimate skill Berserker Rage, you will have a pretty easy time dealing with Act 4 and 5. And if you have problem dealing with Dreadclaw, just try kill him fast enough or practice parrying his incoming attacks. And if you already did all of the above I said, then you are pretty much good to go with Brawler. Moving on to the next class, we have the Tactician, focusing on using shotguns capable of dealing bursts of damage and holding grounds. In my opinion, this class is more of a support rather than a main damage dealer. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that this class is bad when playing solo, I'm just saying that this class is more useful if playing in a team. Now, Tactician itself is not an easy class to play, even though this class has a lot of good perk sets to choose from. But because there's too many to choose, you end up building nothing. To avoid this, I usually separate Tactician into two builds. You either go for Drone Master for open space playstyle, or Automated Arsenal for enclosed space and holding choke points. When choosing both of these perk sets, you mainly go for the perks that apply a lot of slowing debuff or perk that stagger or stuns the enemy. Next up, let's talk about the perks that you must choose to build your shotguns properly. Round Management and Crushing Force is two of the most important perk sets for your shotgun. These two help with your shotgun ammo management and damage. For crowd control, High Voltage is recommended. Together with Blaze Circuit, you will have a way easier time dealing with endgame Nightbounds. As for the Tactician ultimate skills, called Overcharge, will be available to you if you pick a Circuit Overload perks in Storm Engine perk sets. While being overcharged, you will have an improved reload speed, some damage and resistance buff, and most importantly a magnetic field to slow down your enemy, making you have a better survivability during endgames. Alright, moving on to the last class we have right now, which is the Medic, a valuable support that packs quite a punch. Medic has a very good crowd control ability, but has a worse performance against tankier Nightbounds, since Medic is prioritized on using Assault Rifle, which can pump out a lot of constant damage but has a very bad DPS if compared to other class performance, resulting in Flare to be the worst enemy for Medic class. However, there is a solution to this, and which is why we need to talk about the perk sets. First off, we have Battle Hardened perk sets, probably one of the most important, if not the most important, Medic perk sets. These perks are the core of the Medic firepower. You most likely have an unlimited ammo supply, and most of your assault rifle damage buff come from these perk sets. Now next up is an optional choice, but if you're playing solo, consider picking Veteran perk sets, since these perk sets created an agent bot to help you fight with Nightbounds. However, they don't deal a lot of damage, and all they do is act as a bait, and it is a hit or miss. Sometimes, Nightbound just straight up ignore them. That's why I don't pick it up, but it's an optional choice for you. Now if you're playing in a team, Medic has a lot to choose from. There's so many perks that helps you with healing and reviving your teammates. You can choose anything, it's up to your choice. Now your chance of winning as a Medic in solo play in Death Sentence mode is very unlikely, unless you have its ultimate perk sets, called Lifekeeper, and its ultimate called Vitalize can be found in here. But as you can see, this thing is unnecessarily long. All the perks in here are for crossbow, and it's just very useful during co-ops, but when you're doing solo in a Medic, most of them just instantly become useless. So during the solo run, the only thing useful would be the ultimate itself only. Now you would need your ultimate during relay, especially against Flare, because during relay station, Nightbound will have more health, deal more damage, and has way more defense. So Medic by itself can't really kill Flare fast enough, especially with RPK that has a very slow fire rate. So having your ultimate ready to fight against Flare is a very good tactic. And you do this by stacking up your ultimate before it pops and using other weapons except your assault rifle to kill other Nightbounds. So you will get to have your ultimate ready just when you needed it. Okay, we finally finished talking about each classes, but there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the map itself. I will be honest, the map itself isn't very big, but it's just very complicated, so it's very hard to know where exactly you are when you first play this game. Like, there are buildings everywhere, so many rooms to explore, a bunch of secret places to camp, and zombie popping out left and right. Having a better knowledge of the map does definitely help, and it doesn't matter which game, it always helps. Okay, for example, we all know there's a total of 6 relay stations that we have to open, and you can choose to go through any of them first, except for the last one, which is for the boss. And we all know the more relay stations you open, the more enemy types will spawn. And since each relay has different types of terrains and cover and props for you to take advantage of, clearing the harder one first is always advisable. Then you go ahead and clear the easier relay. It is really up to your preference whether which relay you want to open first. For me, I usually go for a relay that has less cover first, since during late game you need to deal with Shockbane, so I prefer to have a relay that has a lot of cover against him. This is just about a relay position. There's a lot more to learn, but do not worry, if you really want to win in this game, you will be replaying a lot, and you will slowly learn how to play, and by that time you might actually enjoy playing this game. And that was it guys, I hope you actually enjoyed my little guide and review about this game. I actually love playing this game. The graphic is really good for Roblox itself, and the fight mechanics is very fun and engaging, it's very challenging, it's actually felt very satisfying to win in this game, and it's pretty underrated for some reason. Alright, I think that's enough yapping for me, it's been like 20 minutes of talking, and I'm already tired. I'll see you guys next time.